Hey guys, it's Bill from Linden, Tennessee. I got a super cool update video here. We have our first official motor spin. It's janky. I got wires going everywhere, but that's how it works until you get it going. Let's start at the beginning. Of course, I got it all wired up. Main battery coming out there, positive. Going over here to this master disconnect. Coming from there over to a fuse, 500 amp fuse, to a main contactor. It goes through a pre-charge resistor. From the main contactor, it goes down to that battery terminal. From that battery terminal, it goes up to the controller. Negative side goes from the battery to a shunt. From the shunt into the controller. That's it for that. As for the setup of all the wires going in here, this is honestly the simplest controller I've ever set up. There are literally 4 wires to make this thing go. You got this main red one. It's hugely long because it's probably going to be running up to the front. And you got 3 wires for the throttle. That's it. That is honestly it. You can get a lot more complicated. You can have an on indication light and a fault indication light. You can have a brake switch. You can have a throttle switch. You can have more stuff. You can even have CAN bus control if you wanted it. But I don't want any of that and don't have any of that. I started life with this. This is a Hall effect sensor. And it's kind of like a rheostat, but it doesn't have any touching, moving parts in it. And for some reason, it doesn't work. So then I tried, this is your standard potentiometer that you'll get with most of these golf cart kits. But it didn't work because it's only got 2 connections. Now it shouldn't need all 3 of them. It shouldn't need the ground, but and it might not. I can mess around with that. But fortunately, I got all kinds of stuff laying around. So I've got this little potentiometer that has all 3 connections. Got a high, red is the 5 volts in, the black is the ground, and then the white is the signal out. So the way this will work in practice, under normal circumstances, I'll have the master disconnect on. That sends power through that pre-charge resistor and goes in here and charges up these capacitors. And then I'll come out here and I want to go drive somewhere. So I'll take my key switch and I will turn it on. It does make a spark, which is a little bit alarming, but maybe it's supposed to do that. I don't know. And then, oops, and I come up here, and this is my start. So I'll have it so the actual start position, the momentary on that you use for a starter, will engage a holding circuit, and then you go like that. So that is start. So now we are officially started. We got some lights over here. There's a red light and a red light and a green light. The red light is the fault. I had to go through a couple of those faults while I was figuring out this throttle situation, but I don't have to turn this very far at all. You can watch at the lower right. I'm just turning it a little bit and bam, there it goes. I'm not going to go crazy with this because one of the interesting things about a series wound DC motor is they don't have any speed regulation with them. So if you give them enough voltage, they will spin until they explode. Now that wasn't even close to exploding speed, but you know, with all that stuff exposed, it's a little bit nerve-wracking. Next thing I'm going to do is I will get all this straightened up, and I guess I'll have to go on Amazon and see if I can find a, I don't know, maybe I can adapt this to that little throttle control, or I don't know. I gotta figure out how to make that work. But or I can just mess around with that and put the wires in different positions until it does work. But anyway, all right. Well, that is it for now. All right. Well, yesterday I had just got this up and running. This was kind of a mess. Now it's about half of a mess. I got my display on, wired up, and that's pretty cool. And I've also got my coolant reservoir filled. I ran it for a few minutes and discovered that I had a few leaks. A couple of these little spring clamps. These are really small lines. I'm not sure what they are. The OD is very small, maybe I don't know, 3/8 or something like that. So you can't really get little hose clamps that small. So I got these little, supposed to be constant pressure spring clamps, and I got 2 per one on each module. these inputs to the batteries are smooth on the outside, so there's not a whole lot to grab onto. There's nothing to grab onto, so it's just pure friction. Anyway, I replaced a couple of those lines, put some new clamps on, and it seems to be holding up pretty good. And for the time being, I just got it on little gator clamps here. At some point, I'll have the water pump on the same circuit as the main contactor, but for now, let's just see how this works. I'm gonna go ahead and turn the power on. There we go. Got water moving around. Got water moving around. And we got no leaks. The next thing we're gonna do, don't need to have that running. I got my power on, so I got my key on, which is what that yellow wire there is, and then I've got my contactors engaged. So I actually went to ignition, is how it'll be eventually, and then make it go, and I actually got wheels turning now. And another cool thing I did, let's go ahead and put it in four-wheel drive. Let's put it in four-wheel drive. Four-wheel drive. Take her out of four-wheel drive. It doesn't really snap out of four-wheel drive. I might need to put a little spring on here or something. That little thing should be like that. But so we got four-wheel drive or two-wheel drive now, and I went ahead and bled the brakes, and that was actually the easiest brake bleeding session I've ever had to do in my life. I'm just going to push the brake right now. You can see it stopped, no problemo. It'll stop that motor pretty easily. We are, at the moment, to do all this, pulling about 300 watts, which isn't very much. We can turn that up to maybe 500 watts, something like that. But the brakes seem to work pretty good. It'll bring that motor down to a stop pretty good. So anyway, that's pretty awesome. I got to make sure when I turn the throttle off that I turn it off and not on more, because it would probably go pretty fast. And that is in high gear. Let's put her in low. Put her in low and see if the brake still will hold it. Find a reasonable speed. That's reasonable. Yeah, the brakes will still hold even in low gear. That's not a lot of motor torque, but anyway, I'm just kind of playing right now because it's sort of fun. So, and then I'll go ahead and turn the key off. Turns the contactor off, and then you turn the actual key off completely. That turns the controller off. And then we're going to put it in storage for a little while. Do like one of them. And that turns everything off. That turns the display off too. If you see this is counting down, I mentioned those capacitors in there. Those capacitors are self-charging. It's discharging right now, so that'll eventually go down to 0 volts. This display will turn off at about 40 volts. So, all right, that's it for now. All right, it has been quite a busy weekend, but I got a lot done. I got all the wiring up here tidied up. That there on the side, I still need to put some of that corrugated, I don't know, that plastic stuff over it. The factory didn't have that stuff, but I'm going to put it on there just because I think it looks nice. So I still got to do that. I should get my new potentiometer Tuesday, and then I can re-rig a throttle. I need to get a new neutral safety switch because I'd like to put a neutral safety switch in line with my contactor. I don't really need it because you can't actually start the motor when you have any sort of throttle applied. The controller won't let that happen, but go ahead and do it anyway. Up here, I got, I ended up going with a kind of simpler fuse box. And yeah, that'll be it. This relay is my holding circuit relay for the contactor. And so the way this is going to work is I don't have a 12-volt battery on here yet, but the way it'll work, you come up here to the key, you turn the key on. That'll make all your like accessories and stuff. If I ever have a radio in this thing, I might. And then whenever you do start, that trips this holding circuit relay. And it's really, really simple to do that. Just have that momentary on, and that makes this relay stay on permanently. And that's what sends power to my main contactor back here and also my water pump. And then, you know, to turn it off, you just turn the key off, of course. And over here for my displays, I think I'm going to mount these displays, I think, yeah, kind of like that somehow. so that they're up and out of the weather. I don't think either one of these are waterproof, so if I have them up there, then they'll at least be out of direct contact with rain and water and stuff. I also went ahead and tidied up all the wires going through there, and all that did was really just guarantee that there are some wires that I forgot, and I'll have to go and take all that apart again, promise. And then up here, got all this sorted out too. This actually took quite a lot of time. I've got my 2 high voltage junction blocks right there, negative and positive. And I've got my little high voltage relay here, so whenever I turn the key on, that relay engages and sends 96 volts back to the controller, and it also sends 96 volts, or it sends an on signal to my DC-DC converter. So when the key is on, the DC-DC converter is on, keeping the 12-volt battery charged. And then my charger, obviously, is down here, and that's how that works. I'll have to run this 110-volt somewhere, probably along the side, or I don't know. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that yet, but yep, that's it. So it's been pretty good. Really happy with progress on this. And now all I got to do is get that throttle, get that thing out of the way, and I should be able to do a little test drive, and then I can start messing around and see if my gear ratios are correct. So I believe that's it. Oh, here's my little, whenever you're doing this stuff, you got to kind of take some notes. This was my initial layout for my holding circuit for the contactor and the water pump. And then, yeah. And then, you know, the horn. Oh yeah, I got a horn, put a horn up there. That's the 96 volt relay up front, DC-DC. And then, yeah, so you just got to take some notes when you're doing it, because I will go back on the computer and I'll make a wiring diagram. So if I ever have to troubleshoot anything, then I can. A battery is going to go over here, a 12-volt battery. I've got a seat on order, so whenever I get the seat, I can figure out where exactly this thing needs to be in relation to it. I mean, it's going to be here, really, because that's how it's going to mount. And then I can figure out how tall of a battery I can put. I may be able to put just a regular old 12-volt, you know, lead acid battery there, which is kind of preferred. You can get the lithium ones, and they're actually about the same price, but I have a 12-volt lead acid sitting over there, so I may as well use it. So yeah, but okay, I think that takes care of it. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.